At this time, I will call the meeting of the Marshall City Council to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. We have an agenda before us. Are there any changes to that agenda? If not, we'll operate under that agenda then. The first item would be the introduction of our administrative intern. Stephen, you want to?
No, go ahead.
You want to introduce him, Sharon, and then Stephen Zimmer will come
Okay.
forward.
We have Stephen Zimmer approaching the dais in the speaker podium. He is going to be taking on city administrator intern duties this summer. He started a couple weeks ago. He'll give you some details on kind of preliminarily what he's working on and just a little bit of his background, his education, and what he continues to pursue here in the near future. I know the mayor is aware of this, but probably the rest of the council is not. The city did get a grant to help pay for half of his salary, so it's not all levy, but a pretty affordable deal that we got for the city intern, and it's just kind of nice to give a young individual who's going to be in the field some experience. So I will turn it back to the mayor, who can maybe let Stephen speak.
So welcome, Stephen, and we're happy you've been on board for a couple weeks now. Maybe you could just explain a little bit about your background, your interest, and also how you're going to use this internship experience for your future.
For sure. Yeah, so welcome everyone. My name is Stephen Zimmer. So as Sharon said, I'm her intern for the summer. So just to tell you a bit more about me, I was born and raised here in Marshall, just graduated from SMSU a couple of weeks ago with my bachelor's in political science. And this fall, I'll be attending Kansas State University for my Master of Public Administration. So what kind of got me interested in city administration is all throughout like high school and college, I always liked learning about like current events in government. And I especially liked local government a lot just because of the direct impact you can have on your residents, as well as the fact that, you know, you're involved with the community and it's a great way to just give back to the community. And all growing up, I just was involved in various community activities, doing various events. And so I think it'd just be a great way for me to help make a difference within my community and just give back to them. And so some of the things I've been doing so far is just looking at different ordinances from other cities within Minnesota, as well as working on the attorney files, attending various meetings, meeting with different department heads. So it's just been a great experience so far these past couple of weeks, doing all this research, meeting with all these people and learning about the importance that these people have within local governments. And I know that this is going to be a great experience, not only to help prepare me for my master's, but for my career after I get my master's in public administration. And I look forward to getting to know all you guys this summer. Thank you so much.
Very good. So before you leave the podium there, anyone have any advice or input for Stephen?
Keep your chin up and your head down.
Yeah. Stephen, we're happy that you're here. So
Thank you. Happy to be here as well. Thank you guys
very
so
good.
much.
Okay, go ahead. We should also mention, as Sharon mentioned, this is partially grant funded. That grant was from and help me with the title, but the City County Managers Association in Minnesota, where Sharon is an active member of. So thank you, Sharon, for your work in securing those funds too. With that, then we'll move to agenda item number 2, consider the approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting that was held on May 14th. Council does have the minutes. Are there any corrections to note at this time?
Move approval.
Second. Motion by Craig, seconded by Steve to approve as the minutes have been presented. We'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. We'll move then to the first of 2 public hearings that we have this evening. The first public hearing will be on the vacation of the utility easement in the proposed Lockwood Second Edition. So we will conduct this public hearing that would grant the petition to vacate. And then following the conclusion of the public hearing, we'll consider the resolution that would grant the petition to vacate the easement. So I'll call on Jason Anderson, Director of Public Works, City Engineer, to conduct this public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. Included in the packet, you should have a drawing as well as a legal description of the area to be vacated. The purpose of the vacation here is to make room for proposed building addition. Later on the agenda, there's a replat of this land as well, and that replat will show that this easement is no longer there. We did reach out to all the utility companies that could be affected by this vacation, and there's a couple utilities that had some impacts, but including MMU, but they were working with the property owner to be relocated, and they were accepting of the vacation. So staff would recommend that we move forward with this.
Okay, is there any input from either the audience or members of the council as part of this public hearing? If not, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Amanda, seconded by John to close the public hearing. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. We'll now consider the resolution that would grant the petition to vacate the easement. Is there any questions about the resolution? If not, is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Craig, seconded by Amanda. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion passes. Agenda item number 4 is the Sounds of Summer 2024. We'll have a public hearing on the private use of public streets and parking lots. And then following the conclusion of the public hearing, we'll consider the approval of the private use and as well as the approval of the parade. Once again, I'll call on Jason Anderson to conduct this public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll introduce this item, and if there's any questions for the Sounds of Summer Committee, I know Mark and Brock Claith are here as well. So this request looks a lot like last year's event with a closure of Saratoga Street between Greeley and College Drive, as well as closure of College Drive between Greeley and Saratoga Street for the events, as well as a parade closure and a parade event that looks similar to last year and is typical of the parade route. First closure is on Thursday, August 22nd, and the closures go through Saturday, August 24th. I can try to address any questions if there are any regarding the detour, and members of the committee are here to discuss the event as needed.
Okay. Any questions the council has as part of the public hearing? If not, Mark or Brock, would you like to make any comments on not so much, well, as part of the public hearing, but you can also promote the Sounds of Summer 2024 at this time?
Thank you, Mayor. The street closures are about the same as they were last year. The only information I want to give you, looking forward into 2025, there might be some adjustments made because of the construction of the new aquatic center and Highway 19. So we'll work diligently after the event to make sure that we get that taken care of and work with the other people involved. So Sounds of Summer this year, I don't know if this should be let out, but we will be doing the groundbreaking ceremony on Friday for the new aquatic center down in that parking lot. So we're kind of excited for that. We're working out the details right now. We have events planned for Friday night also. We've got more events coming in, more food trucks. It's going to be another good year. So
Very good.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. So if we coordinated with MnDOT next year with the Highway 19, perhaps we could have an orchestra pit?
Jason?
No comment.
And I want to thank the city staff for helping us make this event possible too, because it takes a lot with the street closures and the signs and everything. So
Yeah.
it's a group effort.
Well, and thank you guys to the committee and all the work. It's really kind of made a cornerstone event, if not kind of, it's actually, it's done very well.
I think
We
this is our
appreciate it.
16th year, so
Yeah, it's awesome.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, certainly. Thank you to
Yes.
all the volunteers and the leadership on the committee. Events like this as Craig, you say, they don't just happen. They take good leadership and good hard volunteer work, so.
And we'll continue to work to get Brock up here so he can do the speaking, so.
Yes.
Yeah, he looks a lot more eager this year. so-
Yeah, he's getting better. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Any questions for Brock at this time? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Steve, seconded by Craig. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion passes. I'll now entertain a motion on the approval of the private use of public streets and parking lots.
So moved.
Motion by Steve, seconded by John. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. And then the final action would be the approval of the parade on August 24th.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Amanda, seconded by John. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion passes. Thank you again. We'll move then to the consent agenda. Only 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. We'll bring those up on the screen. And they include, consider the approval of a garbage refuse hauler's license for Sweetman Sanitation. Consider an amendment to the resolution for the American Legion to conduct bingo at the Red Baron Arena on June 6th. And then consider the approval of the bills and the project payments. Is there any item on the consent agenda any member wants removed for separate discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by John, seconded by Amanda. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion passes. So that brings us to agenda item number 8. Consider the approval for out-of-state travel for the Tallgrass store manager. EJ, are you going to start with this? So,
Thank you. We'll call up Eric to give more of an update, but I just wanted to at least pat him on the back while he's on his way there that Tallgrass was selected as a winner of for this year's Top 100 Retailer Awards as part of this conference that'll be in the Chicago area in June. Eric's been asked to attend and to get the award as part of it. So we're asking for out-of-state travel for that, and I'll turn it over to Eric.
Great. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I applied for this award, I think earlier this year. The award is based on staff, beverage, alcohol training, liquor store operations, products sold, square footage of building, population of the community, in-store marketing, social media and other marketing, website design, online product ordering capabilities, and then the mobile application ordering capabilities. So it does revolve a lot about how you're running your business. So only 100 of them are given out through the whole United States. So again, I'd like to request a travel to attend along with the attendance of this conference. There's several sessions that are limited, that are not limited to only social media best practices, store security, legal and regulatory updates, THC beverages, industry data presentations, business planning, e-commerce, and third-party delivery services. And so I think there's an educational piece to this too, rather than just grabbing the award and taking off. So I think it's important to look at what's happening on a national level of retail store operations also. So it's also a good networking opportunity. So I'd like to consider this.
Well, on the screen right now, by the way, is the winners list from the 2023 awards. So it'd be a similar, this happens to be the magazine, the Beverage Dynamics magazine from last year.
Eric, maybe stay up here. There might be some questions.
So this is the 2023 list, not the 2024, like Tallgrass will be on, but I just wanted to give you an idea so you can see where some of these places are from. So they got the top 20 on the left side of the screen and then the full list of the top 100 on the right.
Well, let me first say congratulations. We will consider the request, but first off, congratulations. And I want to say I'm probably not surprised when you described the criteria, because we know that you run an excellent operation. You're very good management, and we're proud of the work that you do, and it really benefits the city of Marshall in a number of ways. So thank you. Any other questions or input for Eric before we
No, I
consider the
just,
request?
Bob, I would like to just echo what you said. Eric, we're pretty proud of the way you operate, the show that you know, the face that you put forward for the community. It's very professional and it's done. It's just really done well, and we have a lot of confidence in that, and I really appreciate that, and congratulations on this. I think this is awesome, and I'm glad you're being recognized for it.
Thank you.
Any other, Sharon?
I'll just comment, the reason that this is not the only reason, but one of the reasons it's brought to council is our personnel policy requires out-of-state travel approval by council when it's a non-budgeted expense. So this kind of was a surprise, but we typically and have followed policy by taking it to council for their approval.
Are you driving or flying there?
Probably driving.
Okay, I'd fly
Right.
quicker.
Doesn't have to take a city vehicle.
We looked at,
We are exploring all options. There's a possibility he'll take a pool car. We're also talking about possibly renting from Enterprise or using his personal vehicle.
yeah,
We're looking at all the options yet.
Yeah. Well, you'll work out all those details. Any other questions or input? If not, is there a motion to approve the out-of-state travel?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Craig, seconded by Amanda. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion passes. Let's congratulate Eric on it.
Yeah, thank you.
How big is the trophy, Eric? Maybe we need to send you the pickup?
that's fine.
So we'll move then to agenda item number 9 is the Lockwood edition, the approval of the preliminary plat, as well as the approval of the final plat. Jason?
Thank you, Mayor. Included in the packet is the preliminary plat and the final plat, as well as the checklist for the engineer's report for each. Again, we discussed this earlier with the vacation of easements, but property owner desired a replat to move lot lines and make room for proposed building addition, as you see on the preliminary plat there. Staff has reviewed, again, city ordinances and city requirements, and we see no concerns with the plat. Public hearing was held at the Planning Commission on May 8th, and it was all voted in favor to move this along to the City Council. I can answer any questions if you have them, but we would recommend to approve.
Any input from the planning commission?
No, I was just looking at my notes. There were really no concerns. Approved pretty much right away.
Any questions on the preliminary plat? If not, is there a motion to approve the preliminary plat for the Lockwood second edition?
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary.
I'll second that.
By Amanda, seconded by Craig. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion passes, and then the next consideration would be the final plat. Jason?
Yes, the final plat is, again, in conformance with city ordinance and requirements, and we'd recommend to approve.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
So move.
I'll second.
Motion by John, seconded by Amanda. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion passes. now that the plating is approved, I think we should make some comments on, this is a major investment in the community that's being made, and it's really it's a great thing that we have local business that is interested in this expansion and this major investment.
Right.
So,
Yep. No, I think it's very commendable. Yeah, it's a history, a family history in the community. Obviously, they're very supportive of the local economy, the local events, very, very positive addition to the community. It's good to see them to continue to invest. I like they're, invested at the airport on the bridge to opportunity to kind of open that up and help us get that started. And now his investment on East College Drive is very notable. Appreciated.
good. We'll move then to agenda item number 10, the Peachy addition. Similarly to the previous, we'll consider the preliminary plat as well as the final plat. Once again, Jason Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, included in the packet, similar to the last item, is the preliminary and final plat, as well as the engineer's report on each. We see no concerns with either the preliminary or the final. The driving force behind this replat is the desire to demolish the existing buildings and create lots for sale, so for development lots. So it's 2 proposed lots, as you see on the screen there. Planning Commission held a hearing on May 8th. Again, all voted in favor to bring this forward to the City Council. I can answer any questions if you have them, but we would recommend approval.
And Amanda, any input from the Planning Commission?
No, no discussions or concerns.
Okay. Questions the council has? If not, I would entertain a motion related to the preliminary plat.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
By Amanda, seconded by Craig. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion passes. We'll now move to the final plat of the Peachy addition. Anything further that you
No.
want to add?
No further comment.
Any further questions? If not, is there a motion?
Move approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Craig, seconded by Amanda. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. We'll move then to agenda item number 11, consider authorization to submit a MnDOT grant request letter and purchase a tractor loader for the airport. Once again, Jason.
Thank you, Mayor. On May 3rd, the city was notified by MnDOT Aeronautics that they were able to extend a grant in our direction for a new tractor and loader at the airport. So a 70-30 cost split grant opportunity. City staff took that right away to the Equipment Review Committee on May 9th and received the guidance that we should quickly solicit quotes and come back to the council this evening. Reason for the quick motion is the MnDOT Aeronautics would like us to get back to them by the end of this month. So Dean Kudrin, our Public Waste Superintendent, who's here tonight, solicited some quotes, and on May 20th, we did receive an open 4 different quotes from 3 dealers. The low proposed quote here is a 2024 Case Maxim 150 from Titan Machinery of Marshall. Cost is $145,340.76 after trade-in of our 2000 John Deere loader. When you consider the 70-30 cost split, that gives us a local purchase price of $43,602.23. Dean's here to answer any questions about equipment. You do have the bid tabulation in the packet for your review as well. And if you have any questions, we can try to answer them. But staff would recommend that we go ahead and request this grant from MnDOT and submit this information and work towards getting this sent our way.
Thank you, Jason. Craig, from both the Airport Commission and Equipment Review, any comments?
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate the quick work of staff to solicit the quotes from the dealers in town. appreciate the dealers in town with their diligence and follow through on it. I think we got really good quotes, good offers. This was a quick turnaround piece. It is in our capital plan. Of course, it was a little bit unforeseen coming in, but this replaces a unit that has what, Dean, over 8,000 hours on it? And so this does a lot of mowing. I mean, this tractor runs a lot. It's not just snow removal. It doesn't just, push snow, bucket snow. I think it even blows snow in the wintertime, but it also mows. So this tractor operates, the one it's replacing is operated basically at full throttle its entire life. So it's not an easy life that these tractors go through either. So the one that we have is what, 24 years old? Yeah, so that's pretty good, and it speaks a lot for our staff and how they take care of that equipment also. But I appreciate the MnDOT offer. When there's some funds there, they don't always give us a whole lot of lead time. So this was actually surplus funds left over after they got through some of the rounds of submittals. And so they put it out there. If you're ready to go and have offers, they'll keep taking grant requests until they're out of money. So it's good to be at the ready. And I think this is really to our advantage to be able to get on this because it is in the capital plan and there is a need. We're not getting rid of a tractor that's really kind of not at schedule. Well, this thing is at or beyond when we should be keeping it. And so I just appreciate all of that and the way our staff worked to put this together. And again, for our local businesses and in their quick turnaround with some very good offers. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Dean, you have anything you want to add?
No, it's pretty much covered it. It's got over 8,000 hours. It's been a good tractor. I'm not saying that. It's just time to replace it when the grant offer's there.
Yep.
Questions the council has on the recommendation? If not, I would entertain a motion on the grant request letter as well as authorization to purchase the tractor and loader. Is there a motion?
I'd make that motion.
Motion by Amanda. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by John. Discussion. If not, we'll move to a vote.
Mine won't refresh. Oh, there it goes.
We'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. And agenda item number 12, consider the authorization to purchase a robotics total station for the engineering department and declaring the current unit as surplus. Jason.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an item that we had included in our capital budget for this year. We had $39,500 tabbed for this purchase. The Trimble S7 robotic total station that we're proposing to purchase would replace our existing Trimble M3 total station. That unit is about 10 years old, and the lifespan of technology, that's pretty old. This robotic total station offers a productivity increase by replacing a two-person operation with a one-person operation. This is a piece of survey equipment that'll get used to do preliminary project surveys for pretty much everything that we do. Works really well under tree canopy and cover in tight spaces, congested building areas, things like that. So the item was presented to the Equipment Review Committee on May 9th, and the committee motioned 3-0 to recommend this to council. Can answer any questions if we have them, but we have an invoice amount of $39,649.25, and that includes not just the unit itself, but some add-ons, tripods and things like that, accessories that you need to operate it. I know that our engineering staff was going to be going through that to see if we can eliminate any of those pieces. So we would recommend to authorize the purchase not to exceed that amount, understanding that it could be less than that amount.
Very good. John or Craig, any comments from the Equipment Review Committee?
No, it was unanimous to recommend approval.
Questions the council has? If not, you have the recommendation. I'd entertain a motion.
I move we approve. Second.
Motion by Craig, seconded by John. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. Motion does pass. We'll move then to agenda item number 13, discussion and action on the registration and zoning for THC retail sales, and probably an update on the recently updated legislation on cannabis. Oh, I'm sorry. The, did we miss something here?
Yeah, that was my mistake, Mayor. Not only the purchase of the new unit, but also a declaration of surplus for the existing. I
Okay.
should have mentioned that.
And I would
Yes.
include that in my motion.
That's in your motion, and
It
that
is
was
in
in
my
your
motion.
second?
Yes.
Okay. Amanda, that's what we thought, so.
Oh,
So
perfect. Sorry to delay. Wonderful.
So we're back then to agenda item number 13, the discussion on the THC retail sales. This was discussed at the Legislative Ordinance Committee, and I'll call on City Attorney Pam Whitmore to present this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Good evening. So just as a bit of background, last July, the council passed a moratorium on both THC edible products and cannabis businesses. As you may recall, all of you recently amended that moratorium to allow for the local brewery and on-sale liquor licensed businesses to be able to sell those THC edible and beverage formats, and with limited manufacturing at the local brewery. That spurred the desire of the LNO committee to have a larger discussion about the lower level THC products and the sale of those within the city. And so in front of you, you have the introduction of an ordinance that would establish a registration of lower level THC edible products. The purpose of that registration system, for lack of a better word, is to allow the city to know where these products are being sold, because there's required compliance checks under the statutes. So this enables that and allows for a registration fee to cover the cost of those compliance checks. The ordinance that's introduced is also another proposed amendments to our existing zoning and our different zoning districts to allow for a 500-foot distance from the principal building of a school, as that school is defined in Minnesota statutes. That gets a little complicated, so we will be attaching, staff is going to prepare a map and attach that so that the primary building is identified for those properties. There was some discussions about the lot lines, but that the way that it's drafted was the preference of the LNO committee. Additionally, you'll see an amendment to existing ordinance prohibiting as a home occupation the sale of THC products. So that's what the introduction of the ordinance is. And then we're also setting it for public hearing, since it is zoning is involved in that, to be in front of the Planning Commission with that date that's noted. This will also include the notice for the repeal of our existing interim ordinance, since that is a one-year repeal cycle from last July. So it officially repeals that. Additionally, you'll see in the packet that there's an introduction of the new interim ordinance. That's under our state statutes as opposed to the zoning code. So it's under the actual cannabis statute 342, and it allows us to put that interim ordinance on the higher level cannabis businesses until January, which is a date that is picked by the legislature in the statute. The reason for this, even though the OCM doesn't have their licensing set up yet, so some might think that it's really not even necessary. In the most recent session, which just ended a few days ago, the legislature has created the ability for the OCM to, even before it's done with its rulemaking with respect to licensing, to follow a statutory process that they actually put in place upon 14 days notice that they will be doing this, that they can issue preliminary licenses that are in effect for 18 months, and then they'll be determined to be a final license or not by the OCM after that 18 months. The concern there is that if there is a preliminary license established without us having that larger conversation that we've just had with the lower level products, we want to have those same types of conversations with the higher level products. And we don't want to have that negatively impact a business that is set up by the legislature under this preliminary licensing statute. So that's a large overview. I'm certainly available for questions, especially with respect to anything that's in the staff memo I prepared, if it's creating any questions or confusion.
Okay, we got a couple things going on here. Questions? One question would be, with the first introduction, with that public hearing being held at the Planning Commission, it might be appropriate if there's any questions on that would happen here. And one question would be, and Stephen, this may be a question for you or Pam, but the 500-foot setback, is that the same as alcohol and tobacco sales from schools?
Yes, it is.
It is, okay. Okay, so it is consistent. Other questions or input? Any comments from the Legislative and Ordinance Committee?
No, we used the guidance of Pam and her colleagues and hashed this over, and we think we've got a pretty good thing that we recommend to the council. Again, this is all kind of on the fly because of what the state ultimately decides or changes. So what's today, depending on what the state does in the future, may need to change.
Right.
Would that affect these businesses that are selling the lower level or lower potency hemp?
Pam, you want to comment on that? Again, the THC one probably that's the discussion that's more settled than the cannabis discussion. So go ahead.
Right, so THC, they're called different things as it's moved through the legislature. So initially it was THC related products. And then in this last session, it's lower level hemp-based products. They're the same thing. They were made legal a couple years ago for use, and even before cannabis was made legal for use. And so they were also made legal for the businesses related to those lower level products. We in the city of Marshall put a moratorium on those just to be able to understand how the OCM, the Office of Cannabis Management, was going to structure the licensing, because they're taking over the licensing for all these products, the hemp-based products as well as the higher level cannabis products. And so the Office of Cannabis Management, they don't even have a permanent director yet. And they were intending to have, and are still intending to have, a model ordinance for local government to use. They have not created that yet either. And so as we have moved forward with this, our moratorium is coming to an end. And the moratorium that's allowed under the statute from last year is only for those higher level. So we really did need to address those lower level products. And we had some momentum with that with respect to the brewery and the on-site liquor. And so this was at the instigation of LNO to really get out that the other businesses who wanted to sell these legal products, but yet, since we have to do compliance checks, knowing where they're at. And to Councilmember Meister's point, the good thing about the framework that LNO came up with that's being introduced tonight is that it is an easily translatable framework to use not only for these lower level products, but for the higher level products when the council gets to that point where they are having that discussion. So it is a framework that should translate well, so it's not confusing for public, that there will be a lot of similarities.
Thank you, Pam. Other input?
Just so we're clear on this then, so what we're doing here is creating the ability to license and recognize for the THC for the lower concentration, but not for the high concentration,
That's correct.
high-strength cannabis. We're not approving or licensing anybody for the stronger cannabis.
Right. So Pam, do you want to address on the cannabis licensing process that was outlined in the legislature in the final hours of this session?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, just so we're clear, and I know it's semantics, but it's lawyer semantics, so I'm just going to point it out. So you all can roll your eyes at me, but we won't ever be able to license as a city, as a local governmental unit. It's all going to be all state licensing. The state's very specific as far as just being able to register. And so in the last hours of this most recent session, the legislature made quite a few changes, and still doesn't have the licensing structures set up yet, but allowed for the Office of Cannabis Management with 14 days notice, even though they don't have the licensing structure set up yet, to be able to grant preliminary licenses. They set forth a structure on how to do that. And those would be valid for 18 months. They put a number of how many those could be statewide for the different, so there's now less license. Initially, there was 13 different types of licenses that they were going to license. They've now taken out the medical marijuana licenses out from this schematic framework, but they have put that in place as far as even without that rulemaking done and that licensing, that official licensing structure set up, that they will be able to preliminarily, for a certain number of licenses across the state, for each of these different types of businesses, including the higher level retail sales, to be able to grant some of those on a preliminary basis for 18 months. So as part of that, you'll notice there's an introduction of an interim ordinance that still puts a temporary hold on that higher level cannabis businesses for the city of Marshall until we can do some more research, until we can see what the Office of Cannabis Management is intending for the licensing of those higher level businesses. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Pam.
Yep.
So the first action would be the introduction of the ordinance, and that would address registration, and the only thing that we can control is zoning. So registration and zoning.
And then the prohibition of it in residential districts for home occupation for sales of
Yes.
THC.
Okay. Is there any questions about that introduction? If not, I would entertain a motion for that introduction.
Move to approve.
Motion by Steve, is there a second?
No second.
Seconded by Amanda. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion passes. And then the second action would be the introduction of the ordinance and setting the date of the public hearing on June 25th at the City Council for the introduction of the interim ordinance. Are there questions about that? Or Pam, you have any comment you want to make in addition to what you've already said on that?
No, nothing in addition unless somebody has a question.
Any questions? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Amanda for the introduction. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Steve. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. So with that, Pam, anything else you want to say about this issue, the cannabis, the potential number of licenses, who would be eligible for which lottery for the licenses, and the implications for municipalities and retail operations?
So when we have the discussion regarding the higher level products, you will hear how the legislature set up a licensing system where the city, one of the considerations the city council will be able to make in addition to the zoning would be if there's a desire to limit the number of license of retail sales of that higher level cannabis products. And then they have set up a lottery for if they have more applications, then licenses granted between both their state limit license plus any additional local ordinance number limits on that number. And so that is set up as a lottery system. And there's two different lotteries with the priority of a lottery for social equity applicants. So just know that will be part of the conversation you'll be hearing more about in the future. Additionally, the legislature in the most recent session prioritized the ability of municipal dispensaries for local governmental units, and so that those will not count against the number of licenses limited either by the state amount or a lesser value by the local government unit. But the Office of Cannabis Management doesn't have a choice. They must license applicants who are municipal dispensaries. So that's something that was new this most recent session as well.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Any other questions for Pam? If not, then we'll move on then to agenda item number 14, Commission Board Liaison Reports. Craig?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, the past little bit, the PI&T has been pretty busy, and I just want to thank my fellow PI&T members for the work they did, and also for staff for the great job of supporting the information and the decisions that we need to make. And I really appreciate all of our boards and commissions and the work that's done and the quality of items that are brought forth to council for action. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Steve?
Nothing.
Amanda?
Just touch on briefly, EDA has been focusing on daycare in town, and we were accepted into what is called Child Care Strategic Supply Plan Program. It's an 8-month process that we'll get started on and hopefully come up with some solutions.
Good. My committees have not met. John?
Just ditto what Craig said on the PI&P. And no, nothing else.
Okay, we'll move then to council member individual items. Craig?
I have nothing, thank you.
Steve?
I did get a letter from a constituent regarding the rental properties and concerning the language of it, because he was worried that he was going to have to, if he didn't register his house, that he'd have to evict his tenants because it would no longer be eligible for renting. And I said, no, that's not the case. If you have any questions, come talk to the right people. So other than that, nothing.
Okay, Amanda?
Nothing.
John? The only thing I have, and Jason, you may want to comment on this too. You know, this time of year, we've had adequate to abundant moisture, warm weather, and the grass is growing. And we do have an ordinance that addresses the length of grass, and of course, there's neighborhood pressure on lawns that haven't been taken care of. So just a comment that the city does maintain a list. They have a process. So if neighbors have want to report a lawn that hasn't been mowed or taken care of, or is perhaps has some weeds or noxious weeds that are in violation of the ordinance, that they can contact the Public Works Department. And then there's a process, Jason.
Yes, they can contact our department or the city clerk's office. We work together to make sure these letters get sent out and that there's notification and then follow up if the grass isn't mowed. So yes, it's growing very fast, and make sure you keep on top of it.
So, thank you. And thanks for city staff. So things are looking good around town. We'll move then to staff reports. Sharon?
I did indicate at the prior meeting, we would be bringing forth an extension to the Schwann's Airport Hangar and Airport Arrival Departure Building lease agreements. We had one of our contacts at Schwann's review and approve, and we're just awaiting one other individual to give final approval to bring this to council. So hopefully we can bring this in the upcoming near future. We obviously have time. Despite this short delay, the current agreement doesn't expire until 2032, but it would be nice to lock in the extension. So I just wanted to give an update on that, and that's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Jason?
I'll echo Councilman Meister's comments. If there's any questions from any property owner about the rental ordinance and the registration process, we encourage them to come in and talk to us and try to work through it. We're happy to help. And a reminder to everyone that registration for this first term is free if you get it done before, I want to say September 15th, but it's right at the beginning of September. So hopefully everyone gets those registered. With the moisture, the projects have been maybe a little slow and not a lot of improvement. I don't know if I have a specific update, but I can answer any questions if the council has them.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Any question for Jason?
Addison Lock looks great.
Yes, it does. Yes. Okay, Pam, city attorney.
Nothing for the good of the whole. I'm going to have to actually sign off too, Mayor. I'm juggling another council meeting because of Memorial Day. That's okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the remaining items on the agenda that we have this evening, they include the building permits, and notable in the building permit, is the first of two building permits for the remodel of the interior or exterior of the Shopko building for the Marshall's store. So that's building permit has been issued, and that work should be commencing, as well as there's the rest of the building permits. The listing of the upcoming meetings is also there. Is there anything else to come forward at this meeting this evening?
Move we adjourn.
Motion by Craig,
I'll second.
by Amanda. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion passes. We are adjourned.